we'll go ahead and hopefully Rafael will join us in a little bit. So let me welcome everybody. My name is Steve Gordon. I'm currently the treasurer of the SIG HPC Education chapter. And what our purpose is today is to really review some of the current undergraduate programs in computational science. So we've invited 4 people, 3 of whom are here now, and hopefully the 4th will join us to talk a little bit about their programs as an introduction. So they'll each give a short introduction, and then we'll open it up for some discussion about the trials and tribulations of starting and running an undergraduate computational science education program. So let me ask the first person here. So Dave, would you be willing to go first and give us introduce yourself and give us an overview of your program at Kane University?
Sure, not a problem. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
So just a little bit about the program here at Kane. Let me see if I can share my slides here. Application, PowerPoint. I don't know if those are if those slides are showing or not. Can you all see the slides?
Yes, go ahead.
Great. Okay. So a little bit about the program here. The program at Kane University is part of an honors college that was started in 2004, really kind of cutting across some different STEM disciplines. We've got 8 faculty within the center itself spread across biotechnology, computational science, math education, chemistry education, and biology education. We've kind of been wedged as a little piece of that, and that's had some good and some bad, and I'll talk about that in a second. In terms of the actual program itself, it's a 5-year combined bachelor degree, master's degree. So we bring the students in as freshmen, we run them through 4 years as undergraduates, and then we have an accelerated single year master's degree. The start of it is an interdisciplinary core of biology, physics, chemistry, calculus, linear algebra, statistics, and programming. And that's not just our computational science students, but it's every student within the honors college. And then we bring in everyone through kind of a general ed of STEM. There is also a part of this that we've added in the last few years, where we have a research requirement that starts in the freshman year and tracks through every single year. And the actual coursework itself is split pretty evenly between math and computer science for the required coursework beyond that interdisciplinary core. The specialized coursework specifically is 2 semesters of modeling, essentially of modeling not counting partial differential equations, so problems with a single dependent variable, essentially. One of those semesters has a strong pedagogy focus, and the students split that with our math education candidates, all sitting in the same class. We do specifically a computational partial differential equations class, a data analysis class, and a high performance computing class. The students take additional science electives with advisement, basically kind of thinking about what they want to do, what is their computational X. Some students kind of just do a grab bag of a little science here, a little math here, a little more computer science. Others really try to focus in on a specific area. We've been looking more at making sure our students have options in bioinformatics lately to really center around some of our other strengths on campus, as well as many of our students choose to pursue a minor in physics while they're doing this. So we have a computational physics track to help the students, figure out advisement-wise how do they pick up that minor in physics while they're doing their math and CS coursework. In terms of the numbers, how well this has worked for us. Being part of this honors college has been a blessing and a curse. it's a blessing in that we've gotten a lot of goodwill from the university because we're part of an effort that's been strongly pushed by the upper administration. It's allowed us to get away with some courses that otherwise would have been low enrolled because we wind up feeding students from other options within the Honors College as well. All of our initial core coursework, for example, across all STEM fields, as well as the modeling class that's pedagogy focused, and we get our math ed students in there. But it also means that our recruiting focus, our efforts, our administrative focus are spread across a large number of fields, not even necessarily that closely related fields, other than the fact that they're all STEM, for what initially was a pretty small number of students into the Honors College in terms of what we allowed in that. So when we started off, we were starting at about 3 students a year, hoping that would be something we could grow from. And we were holding at about that. And at around 2011, things started dropping perilously low. We were running around 1 student a year. We were getting a lot of discussion from our administration of, find a new way to do this, find some sort of new direction, or else we're going to have a harder discussion. We had a workshop with an industry roundtable hosted by Exceed. Thank you, Steve Gordon, for that. That was really helpful for us. Really focusing on kind of what industry's needs were. And one of the things that came out of that was that we needed to think about how we were going to address data science a little bit more than we had been. And part of what came out of that was a rework to really look at how we could bring in more of a targeting towards bioinformatics as one of the advisement options for our students. We've since hired a bioinformatics faculty member. Actually, that person left to start a business, and we've rehired a bioinformatics faculty member and have reworked our curriculum to make sure that bioinformatics is part of that. We've also worked pretty closely with our math department, which has been starting a data science program. Where does that put us now? We've rebranded our program. We had previously been Computational Math, and we did formally change the name of our program to Computational Science and Engineering. We've added a couple of things as a recruitment initiative, a 6-week summer immersive high school research experience where the faculty members create a 8-student team to come in and do research with us for about 6 weeks. We add a couple of our undergrads into that as well as mentors. We have developed across the Honors College a research first initiative where every one of our options, now it's a mandated research experience starting freshman year and continuing through the graduate year. And we have been seeing our numbers rebound, and I'm not sure which of each of these changes we've made, or if it's just the luck of demographics or what we've seen, but we have seen in the last few years a jump from where we had dropped down to about a student a year. We've been running pretty consistently about 8 to 10 students a year, and students that have been able to survive in the program and seem to be moving on to the upper level years. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. Our biggest challenges have always been recruiting and explaining to students and to students' families what this field actually is.
Okay, well, that's something for maybe further discussion later. So now, if you would stop sharing, I want to turn it over to Thomas Mons from New Mexico State to talk about the program there. So, Dave, you have to stop sharing your desktop.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Let me see if I can get the slide sharing here. Let's see here. Are you able to see everything okay now?
It's just coming up now. Yes, go ahead.
So if I do that, is that showing them properly? Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, it looks okay. Well, you should put it on slideshow so you see a little bit bigger image.
I've got it full screen here on mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I don't see what you're seeing exactly. So, okay. So our program just started within the last few months. We have a computational minor in computational engineering, and this is designed to provide students with the concentration in various skills related to computational science, including they have to take a course in object-oriented programming language, various numerical methods courses, and then various engineering software and design kind of problems. Now, sort of the flavor of our program is a lot of these are going to be, I'm from a chemical engineering department, so some of them, a good number of them will probably be from chemical engineering. It is open to all of the different departments within engineering, and we've tried to design the course so that it can be taken relatively easily by any engineering student, with the addition of a few of the courses in addition to their kind of core engineering requirements. And I'm going to get into the course specific courses now. So in total, we're requiring 18 credit hours of coursework, and these are selected from among the existing taught courses. We do have one elective that's kind of new that I've only taught once, but that's here, that's listed under computational material and molecular properties. So this is one of the courses that I've only taught one time before that I'll be teaching again in the spring, which focuses on molecular simulations using quantum chemistry. But the majority of these are computer science and data and numerical methods and simulation courses. So we have, within the required courses, they have to take one course on statistics or data analysis. And then they have to take one course in numerical methods. And this numerical method, we gave a couple different options because the mechanical engineers take a different numerical method than the chemical engineers, so we allow them to take either one. And the same with the sort of the statistics and data analysis. We selected 3 courses that cover sort of similar materials. All of our students in chemical engineering are already required to take these first 2 courses, but they're not required to take a computer programming course. So this would be in addition to their curriculum, where they have to take a software programming course, which can be C++ programming or other software technology or programming. And that's designed to give them some skills in coding. Now, among the elective courses, they also have to take 9 hours of these. And these would be more, I guess, along the applications and higher math. So we have linear algebra, which is an elective, which our students are not normally required to take. So they could take that as an extra elective course. Our students are going to be, in chemical engineering, required to take Introduction to Ordinary Differential Equations. We had that in the required chemical engineering curriculum, and it was taken out a few years ago. That didn't work, so we put it back in. So actually, all of them will already have 3 of these courses, plus a lot of these chemical plant simulation courses are upper division classes in our department. However, we've also included here a variety of other courses that some of students take in other departments. You can see here a lot of the IE courses, industrial engineering, where engineering operations research 1 and 2 and discrete event simulation. A lot of the industrial engineers take those. There's mechanical engineering here, finite element analysis. And there's a couple computer science courses on Linux system administration and, running Linux, Unix, and Linux and Python scripting. That's kind of what the course structure looks like. We've tried to structure it in a way that the typical student will probably have, like half of these courses they're going to be taking anyway, so that trying to make the barrier not too large for students who want to enter it because they have already extremely large number of credit hours in the undergraduate curriculum that are required. So some of these they can fit in as electives in their curriculum, and some would just end up being, a couple of them would probably end up just being extra hours, but it shouldn't be too much of a barrier. So we're hoping that that will, kind of spur students to, get involved in this if they look at it and realize that they've already taken a lot of courses and they realize it would maybe taking a few more courses, they could get a minor. So that's kind of the rationale behind it.
All right, thank you, Tom. So let's go on. If you could stop sharing, and I'll turn it over to Chris Wentworth. Chris, you want to introduce yourself and talk about your program?
Right. So first, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but Tom, you have to...
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, go to the top of the screen. It should pop up a stop sharing thing. There you go.
It
All right,
says,
Chris.
have
go
I
ahead.
stopped sharing?
No, it's
Chris.
not stopping. I'm trying to share my screen, but it won't let me. It says Tom.
Okay, is that
there.
okay now?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, can you see my share?
It's just coming up.
Okay.
Not here yet. There we go.
All right. So my name is Chris Wentworth, and I'm a professor of physics here at Dunn University, a small university in southeast Nebraska. And so first, let me just explain a little bit about what Dunn University looks like. We have three colleges: College of Arts and Sciences, which is our traditional residential liberal arts campus. We have about 1,100 FTE students, and this is the college that is offering the computational studies minors that I will talk about in just a minute. We also have a College of Education and a College of Professional Studies, but they are not participating in any of the computational studies type of things. The timeline for our program, let me just explain. We offer two computational studies related minors. We offer a computational science minor, which is really meant to complement our majors in the natural sciences, talking about biology, chemistry, physics, environmental science, mathematics, and we just added an engineering major as well. And then we also have a computational thinking minor, which is really meant to complement other kinds of majors, mainly the people in the fine arts and humanities, business, education, and social sciences. So those are the two programs that we offer, two minors. Let me explain a little bit about the timeline. Back in 2013, we had a group of faculty from both our science mathematics division, but also our business and social science divisions, and we came together and we started to work on this project of creating some type of computational science minor. And we also had a springtime, early summer workshop that was brought to us by the Exceed people, including Steve Gordon, and that was very helpful in formulating our ideas about what a computational science or computational thinking minor would look like. So we continued during that summer of 2014, now we're talking about, and created the curriculum proposal for these two minors. And we also created a new course called Fundamentals of Computational Science, and so it would be a key part of the computational science minor. So the two minors were approved, and we began teaching them that fall. Okay, so fall 2014, we have our 2 minors in the catalog. We're teaching the fundamentals of computational science for the first time. We also added a computational physics emphasis for our physics majors. 2017, we have our first graduates of this program. So we had 3 computational science minors. We had 1 computational thinking minor, and at that time we didn't have any computational physics majors yet, but we do have some online now. Okay, so what do these minors look like? Let me see if I can pull up the actual requirements. Okay, so the computational science minor, again, that's meant to complement the science majors primarily, and so it's at 21 credits. It involves some foundational skills in problem solving and mathematics, and so we have a couple of choices that students can choose from there, including either some statistics, either a biostatistics course or a more mathematically oriented statistics course, an introduction to programming and problem solving, and then a math class that is very focused on developing problem solving abilities. Okay, so then building on that, we have the fundamentals of computational science course, which is meant to develop a student's ability to think in terms of simulations, modeling, visualization, using computational tools. And we currently are using Python as the underlying language that's used within that course. So we do a lot of exploring of Python libraries that are helpful in those areas of simulation, modeling, and visualization. Okay, after all of that kind of foundational work, then the students are supposed to go into more applied areas. In particular, we have a parallel computational techniques class that everyone is required to take in this minor. And then there's also going to be a seminar class that they will take as seniors. They choose 2 courses from the more applied-oriented courses, and you can see here that we have a selection from biology. There's 1 chemistry class, 1 environmental science class, and then a mathematics class, and then several physics classes have a computational aspect to them. And then this computational studies seminar is meant to have students discuss a research project. See, all of our science majors require a senior research project, and so what we require is that the computational science minors do a senior research project that has a computational element to it. And so that's brought together in that seminar. It's discussed among the students who are seniors that particular year. Okay, so the other minor is the computational thinking minor, and this is really meant to focus on students in art, business. Most of our business students are not particularly quantitative oriented, and then also our social science majors. And so this minor builds on first developing some basic problem solving skills, also some introductory programming skills, and then to develop some ability to do modeling, simulation, and visualization. We have another course called Modeling and Applications. It's not quite as mathematics centered as the courses that people take in the computational science minor, but it does help in developing those skills. And then they take 2 courses that are more applications oriented, and we see that they have selections from an accounting class. There is a biology class in that category, and then a social science class. And then if we don't really expect it, but if any of these students wanted to take one of these computationally oriented upper level physics classes, we would be happy to have them. But that's not where most of them end up going. They also must complete some kind of senior research project in their majors, and again, we ask that it have a computational element to it. Okay, so what are some of the challenges that we've experienced? Well, first of all, the ownership of these two minors is very diffuse because we're talking about faculty from a wide variety of departments. And so we had a lot of cooperation and conversations when we were designing the minors, but to a certain extent, since they've gotten into the catalog, we haven't remained in communication quite as frequently as we probably should. So that's one challenge, is to get all the different disciplines, faculty in different disciplines together, and to keep our focus on what we're trying to do. We've also found that undergraduate students coming into our college here, they're not familiar at all with this concept of computational science or computational thinking. They know what computer science is about, sort of, but the idea of computational science or thinking is really not something that they are at all familiar with, and so we have to work hard at educating them about it. So we really have to do active recruitment of students to bring them into the program. And I'm relatively happy that we had 4 students last year graduated, last May, who chose one of these minors. And we currently have about the same number who are working their way through the system. And we also have approximately 2 computational physics people who will be graduating this coming year. So we're starting to make some progress, but to keep the numbers up, it's clearly requiring active recruitment on the part of the faculty involved.
All right, well, that's something for further discussion. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yes.
So if you could stop sharing, I think Rafael has joined us. And Rafael, can I ask you to introduce yourself and share your program with us?
Yeah, if I can figure out how to stop.
Yeah, so maybe you can help disconnect him. There we go. Rafael, can you hear us? Can you?
Yes, I can hear you, and good morning, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this presentation. I'll be focusing on our program that was initiated through funding from the National Science Foundation, and I'll try to get my slide up so that you get okay. Can you see my screen?
It's just coming up now.
Okay.
Still waiting for the image to come up.
Oh, okay.
We're just seeing a green screen. Did you share the entire screen?
Green.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Here it is. Go ahead.
Okay. So okay, is it clear now? Okay. So as I said, this project that I'm going to describe, or the various educational interventions that we've done, came as a result of funding from the National Science Foundation, and I serve as the PI on the project, which is titled developing quantitative expertise in the undergraduate biology curriculum. The funding provided us with resources to bring computational as well as quantitative or data expertise into the biology curriculum. And the overview of our project is on this next slide, where we look at the infusion of the dimensions of data challenges. We enhance the coursework experience of students, and we provided evidence-based learning strategies. And our audience is essentially undergraduate students, and in this particular one, we are focusing on undergraduate biology majors. And if you look at our framework, we introduce these aspects of computational tools, data science in the seminar series that we have as part of the biology curriculum. And so through this 1 hour credit seminars, students are exposed to the dimensions of data, data expertise or data challenges. And as we go on, they also get the types of educational learning strategies that they will use to be able to learn this data. And then we also developed 3 new courses, which could eventually help our students to have some type of concentration in computational biology or bioinformatics. We developed a course called Advanced Computing Resources in Biology, which focuses on cloud computing. Another one on bioinstrumentation, which links to high throughput instrumentation. And then computational genomics, which is more of a statistical focus of analyzing genomic data, epigenetics data. So when we put all of this together, we anticipate or expect that students will graduate with the computational as well as the quantitative expertise to contribute biological-based solutions. So this started, we're in the 3rd year, in fact, we're in the 4th year of this project. This is essentially not creating a new program, but instead enhancing the existing program that is present. We've been able to collaborate with Exceed. We are really grateful to the computational access to some servers, as well as students being able to use some of the resources through guest lectures. We've also been able to connect to the Open Learning Initiative in order to bring the strategies for learning about data. Now, doing all this, in the past 3 years, I've also opened up some challenges to us that not all students will take the biology courses that are the 3 or 4 credit hours that have more of the computational topics. So, for example, our cloud computing, you still have maybe, when we first offered it, it was about 9 students, but this semester is just 1 student that has come forward to do it. Now, what we've also done to increase the number is we entered into a collaboration with 3 other universities to offer these courses, sort of sharing the courses. By next spring, we will know how this will be, if it will be successful or not. But going forward, some of the things that we have put together is instead of trying to have some of these very specialized courses, which will need the computer science department to provide those courses. We can also use some other approaches that will reach more students in terms of providing modules that can be infused into already existing courses, so that we have more individuals that have these computational skills and expertise. And so we are following some strategies which I'll just quickly share that we think will probably help us in reaching more students to become aware and doing it at a lower cost. They don't have to have a new program or pay for additional concentrations, because at times that also becomes a financial aid issue. So we are focusing on harnessing data, and there are some challenges when teaching students how to work with professionally collected data sets. So we sort of have some foundations, some theoretical foundations that we are following, and we look at it from an expertise approach and guided by the fact that to work effectively with data, students have to know about collection, storage, access. So we sort of divide it using the data challenges identified by the National Consortium for Data Science as a means for us to make it in a more simplified approach to deliver this knowledge on computational science, because they are going to work with data. So these are just some fundamental aspects in terms of theoretical reasons why students want to work with data, and they may not have collected the data by themselves. So we have to have a way in which we communicate the knowledge to them. And the challenge is that they are not the ones that collected the data. They have to work on data that's been collected by other people through external representations. So we are using visual analytics approach so that they will be able to get findings, actions, knowledge from the data. And there are some others. So this particular approach of integrating the skill sets. So what we are planning to do is that we've identified that if we present computational science, data science to students in terms of the skills they will need for a job, and they'll be able to identify it in terms of their occupation profile, they will more or less be more attracted to enroll in the program. So this is one that we are using based on the Oceans of Data. It's from the Oceans of Data Center. And what they've done is that they've divided big data specialists in terms of their duties and tasks into these 7 duties and the tasks. So what we are doing now is to take each of these tasks and develop modules that can be infused into coursework, where they will be introduced, where they will be reinforced, and where they will be mastered. So this is sort of an approach that helps us to balance the need to have more students that are familiar or aware with these areas of big data. And as we go through each of these, we can use an expertise approach to train the students. So that's where our emphasis is for development now, since we have identified that we don't have always the numbers of students that take these our specialized courses. But in order to reach out to more students, and then hopefully they will now develop that interest to take those specialized courses that we have developed. So I will stop for now. Okay. I don't know. I can't hear you, Stephen.
Oh, thank you very much, Rafael, for your presentation. And I'd like to open it up now to questions from the audience for any of the speakers or about any of the programs. So please feel free to speak up.
This is Chris. I have a question for Dave at Keene University. I didn't catch the actual name of the master's degree that a person comes out with in this program. You had a BS, MS program. Or what was the actual master's degree in?
The degree title for both the BS and the MS is it's Science and Technology. Is a catch-all for all of the honors college degrees. Like I said, it's an interdisciplinary honors college, and then each of our options has an additional name. So it's Science and Technology, Computational Science and Engineering, and that's both the BS and the MS. Actually, I should say the MS is technically still computational mathematics. The paperwork's en route. We're changing it to Computational Science and Engineering.
Thanks.
Other questions? So I'll pose one because obviously all of you have run into the problem of numbers and how to recruit students. And so, Rafael has come up with a thought about integrating this earlier into the curriculum as one way of attracting students. Do you guys have any other ideas that you think would help to attract more students, or to, how do we break this communication background where we know that the market wants people with these skills, but we're still having trouble attracting people into programs such as these? Any thoughts?
I'll say something about where we've seen some success here is the more that we can talk to potential students about computational science in terms of the skills it gives them, not only in the field of computational science, but how well it applies to other things. That if they are, and in particular, we've been targeting a lot of potential computer science students, so that if we can reinforce to them that there is a degree out there that will let them learn programming that has, the coursework in programming, operating systems, software engineering, data structures that they would take as a CS major, but that allows them to focus a lot more on some math skills and see applications in the sciences. That's been something that I think students have kind of responded to, and again, kind of along with that name change from computational math to computational science and engineering. I think part of what's helped is the students who knock on our door to ask about our program, instead of being potential math majors trying to decide if they want to get the additional computer skills, we're getting potential computer science majors who want to understand a little bit more about the science and math. And just as a numbers game, there's a lot more potential computer science majors out there right now than potential math majors. So I think it's helped us hit that market to kind of talk it in that way. And I think as well, we've had enough graduates through the program at this point that we can point to kind of our successes with our graduates. That when we see roughly a third of our graduates have been going on to further doctoral programs, about a third are working in what we would consider traditional CS and E jobs, and about a third of them ended up saying, "Hey, I've got great programming skills and some real ability to see through algorithms and do all of this and impress a computer science recruiter. I'm just going to go do some computer science stuff." Every one of our graduates is gainfully employed doing something that they were trained to do. And like I say, about a third of them end up just kind of going off and finding computer science work, having a sense that we can talk to students about here's an option and a field that you might want to pursue, and you're not going to hurt yourself with your fallback of, when you're done, you're a pretty good programmer. But that's helped with us, at least in terms of pushing this as an undergraduate degree.
Okay, great. Other questions?
This is Chris. I'll just address that last question a little bit more. It's really important for our biology faculty, in particular, as far as computational science is concerned, to advise students in their first year appropriately. And I think that's starting to happen. Our faculty, biology faculty, certainly recognize the importance of students getting these computational skills. And so they are, I think, starting to have those conversations within the first year courses. And that's what's going to really make the biggest difference, is good advising on the part of faculty for first year students.
Okay. Other thoughts on that question or other questions?
I was just going to mention, are you guys aware of some of the programs that students can enroll in after they graduate or when they're nearing graduation? There's a couple of the, I don't know the names off the top of my head, but they're like 8-week intensive programs in data science that people can enroll in, and they might be recruiting students from programs like these that can enroll, and then they help to place them into jobs that are aligned with that area. It's sort of like a industrial kind of training situation where they try to match people with jobs and stuff. So some of the students coming out of these programs might be very well suited for those, for that kind of lineup. Are you familiar with that, Steve? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've seen some things. I don't know any of the details, though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could share some of the specific programs you're talking about, Dave.
Yeah, I had one of my students went and applied to one, but she wasn't accepted. But I'll look up the link and maybe I can send it later.
Yeah, if you send it to me, I'll make sure it gets posted along with the notes from this on the CHPC Education website.
Okay.
That'd be great.
I'll send it to you, Steve.
So I think there are two things that occur to me that were mentioned earlier, and I don't know what we can do better about this, but one is we know that there are links to industry and to jobs in industry. Is there some way that we need to get more of industrial partners sort of talking to our students as another way of recruiting them? Because if we're just self-promoting is one thing, because all faculty are self-promoting to one degree or another. But if we have help from outside, that may be helpful in getting students to believe us that this is something that's important to their careers. Any thoughts on those things? I know, Dave, you mentioned that the seminar where we had industry involved was very helpful, but how do we follow up on that?
My question that I still have now is one that I've had for a decade now, which is, how do we describe to people outside of our field what we do, and what's the name that we call that? And that's been the single biggest frustration for me, is that there's not something like computer scientist that you can go onto Indeed, type in a phrase, and go find where the jobs are. So some way of really defining what the field is, or working with industry to have a good society or message board or something to really connect potential employers to potential hires would be a great resource, I think, for our students.
Okay, other thoughts?
This is Rafael. And exactly along the lines of this industry academic collaboration is why we've started thinking about this, looking at the learning occupation or occupation profile of a computer scientist, big data specialist, and make sure that those duties, students are familiar with it, as well as the kind of task that they will do. So we can map the courses that we offer to students back to the kinds of tasks or problems that they will solve when they get into the workforce. We've also tried to provide internship opportunities that often will start when they are on campus. And though this has not been really in terms of getting the buy-in of the industry, that let us start working with the students when they are on campus before they get to your location. That may help us with some continuity in terms of the knowledge, and then help the student be better prepared. So that could be some strategic partnership that brings the company, the industry into the classroom, and the coursework will help.
Yeah, excellent idea. Other questions at this point? Well, let me pose one more, and one I think that that was brought up earlier by Chris, and that is, we're all proponents of these programs because we think they're important, but we have to convince our colleagues elsewhere in the university that this is good for their students as well. And so how do we bridge that? I know, Chris, you mentioned that the biology faculty are finally beginning to advise their students that this is important, but what else do we need to do to connect with other faculty to help them understand how important this is, and get them to encourage students to go through a program such as one of these? So, Chris, maybe you could say how you got your biology faculty to start advising students in this direction.
Well, we brought in some new faculty members over the past few years, and their research requires a lot of computational aspects to it. And so they started working with me and computer science faculty to just get some help with their research. So they were convinced from that point that this was a direction that needed expanding, and then it's just a matter of them finding a way to reach their own students.
Yeah.
Which they're starting to have success with that. But biology majors, at least at a place like Dunn, aren't typically students that have a great interest in the more quantitative aspects of science. So
I think that's everywhere. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's kind of puzzling. Is does it take a sort of a generational change in the faculty, where you have faculty that are coming out of the system that are doing research in order to push this, or is there a way to get old guys like us that aren't convinced to change their thinking? So I don't know if I have an answer to that, but that's certainly what the challenge is. Yeah.
So at Dunn, definitely newer faculty coming in who are using those computational tools, they've been really important.
Yeah. Are there other questions or thoughts at this stage?
Sure, I just wanted to follow up on that question. One of the things that we've been trying here, and I think it's too soon to know whether or not it's going to be successful, but we've been making a real push to provide service to the rest of the university in terms of data visualization, in particular 3D data visualization. We've got a group of students who've been trained in doing data visualization in Unity. and have been working both kind of at the small hardware level with the headset virtual reality and trying to make use of a cave facility that we got an NSF grant about 4 or 5 years back to try to boost its usage across campus. We have got good administrative buy-in to the idea of doing like a campus-wide virtual reality competition to really promote this across other programs and get other program students thinking about visualization, in particular 3D visualization. But we're still in the process, and it's still yet to see how it'll work out. But that's just something we're trying, and definitely a part of that for us is our goal to reach out and have some goodwill with other departments and make sure the other departments and other colleges on campus know what it is we're doing.
Oh,
this is Rafael.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the approaches that we are using is to have transdisciplinary workshops for students. So where we have students from different disciplines come together to solve a problem or receive training together or for something that we want to solve. It could be a research project or it could be joint learning. And the premise there is that if we build the students' interest in working together, they will sort of become interested and raise this reason to have these types of joint programs. And you have students that will then sign up, and we've seen some of that. Some of them end up signing up for this interdisciplinary or computational focus when they graduate. So we've had students go through our specialized training workshops that are not part of courses, but they are co-curricular activities. But then they leave and go and do courses in health informatics or bioinformatics, or they have computational as important part of their curriculum. Now, one other thing that we've done to make sure that students in biology have that fundamental scientific computing knowledge. Our computer science faculty developed a course called Foundations in Scientific Computing, or Fundamentals of Scientific Computing, and we adopted that into the biology curriculum. And this is a second-year course that gives them that foundation to be able to come and take advanced courses in the 300 and 400 level. But we still want to go to the point in which students really become interested in deeper aspects of these courses, being able to program, learn more about machine learning, the types of things that can make them excel in working with complex data sets. Thank you.
No, thank you. Well, we're almost out of time. I'm going to do some a little bit of promoting here at the end, and this is sponsored by the SIG HPC Education chapter. And for those of you who are tuned in that aren't members, I would like to encourage you to become a member. So you can go to sighpceducation.acm.org, and if you click on membership, there's a direct link. It's very modest cost, $10 for professionals, or if you can encourage your students to join, it's $5. And that helps us help build this community. Also, let me note that after this, we are recording this session, and if you want to pass it along to your colleagues, on the events page, probably within the next few days, there'll be a link to the recording so that we can pass that along to others who weren't able to attend today live. So with that, I'll ask if there are any other final questions or comments. Let me thank our 4 panelists for providing information on their programs. I think this was very educational for all of us, and thank all of you who have joined us here today, and be on the lookout for further discussions of of note to the general community, computational science community, sponsored by SIG HPC Education Chapter. And if you have any ideas for discussions that we should have in this area, please feel free to send them along to us. So thank you everyone again for participating, and I hope you all have a good week. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.